Hi there, I'm Dr. Lon Schiffbauer, and today I want to talk about bartering. Trading. No money, just a straight up trade. Back like you did in school. I'll trade you my cookies for your cupcake, that sort of thing. Now, it might be really tempting to say that bartering is a thing of the past. That, okay, yeah, maybe at one time they said, I'll give you some sheep for some wood. But since the advent of money, bartering's been pretty much relegated to the history books or the cafeteria. Well, I want to make the case today that bartering, in fact, is much more important to your life, in your life, than you might think. So let's go ahead and explore this. The first thing I want to offer you is this food for thought, okay? You've got Google Docs, you've got Gmail, Google Drive, browser, you've got Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Google Maps, so on and so forth. You use all these things. You use the majority of them anyway, I would at least submit. And you find a great deal of value in them. I mean, Google Maps and, Chrome and, Gmail, come on, right? Google Search. How could you live your life without Google Search? How much do you pay for these things? Now, they're really valuable to you. In fact, it would be really hard to imagine going a day, much less your lifetime, without these things. They're valuable. How much do you pay for them? Well, you actually pay a great deal. Let me show you what I mean. I maintain that there are, in fact, 4 currencies that we use in barter today that are, in truth, much more valuable than money. Let me show you what these 4 currencies are. The first one is your attention. So consider this quote from Herbert Simon, Nobel Prize-winning economist. In an information-rich world, the wealth of information means a dearth of something else, a scarcity of whatever it is that information consumes. What information consumes is rather obvious: the attention of its recipients. What? Okay. What he's basically saying is that in an economic exchange, there needs to be an abundance of something or a scarcity of something. Well, today we have so much information in the environment, so much information. And yet, what is that information in need of? It's in need of attention. And we have precious little attention to give. Therefore, our attention is very, very valuable because it has to be spread across so much information. Let's look at what this means for you and me, okay? Well, there are companies out there that want you to keep scrolling through their service as long as possible. I want you scrolling through TikTok. I want you scrolling through Instagram. I want you scrolling through YouTube. The longer I can keep your attention, the more I can monetize this, right? The longer a company can keep your attention, the more advertising they can sell. Now, think about this. With endless media options available to us, advertisers are desperate for your attention. Back in the old days, back when I was young, there were 4 TV channels and a newspaper and a bunch of magazines. That's it, right? So advertisers, well, you know what? There weren't many places for them to place their ads, and there weren't many places for us to go to consume content. So they pretty much had a lock on our attention. Whereas today, oh my gosh, the media out there, it's endless. And so advertisers have to work really hard to figure out where are we going to pay our attention, and then work really hard to keep it there. So companies that trade in attention really want us to stay in their apps, stay on their services. So just to get meta for a moment, the longer you stay on this video, the more ads YouTube can sell, which in turn means the more money I can make. So yeah, the longer you stick here and watch this, the more money I make. We are therefore turning your attention into my revenue. Okay, so let's keep going. Currency number 2. your personal data. You know this, right? Now, here's just some food for thought. Um, Apple CEO Tim Cook cited this one time. When an online service is free, you're not the customer, you're the product. Yes, your personal data is the product. So, what does this look like? Well, first of all, companies are out there collecting our personal identifier information, our name, address, IP address, system data, things like this. This is what cookies do, among other things in our systems. They're also collecting our engagement data. How are we interacting with the website? Or what ads are we seeing? And how do we then interact with these ads? They're also collecting our behavioral data, our transactional data. What are we buying? When are we buying it? How much are we buying? What are our purchasing preferences? How are we moving through the site and so forth? They're really analyzing all of this information. So, what do they do with it? How do they benefit from it? Well, they can improve their customers' experience, right? Consider it a real world multivariate user experience study. So they want to know how we're maneuvering and interacting with and behaving in the environment and what we're buying and so forth. So they can make the environment more conducive to our, parting with our money. Okay. They want to better target their marketing strategies so that we buy more stuff. And yes, they sell our data to data brokers. Now, remember, in bartering, we get to choose, well, how much of something do we give in receipt of something else? Well, yeah, we could go into our system preferences and choose how much of our personal data is collected and what is done with it. But not many of us do it, right? So, yeah, they make bank on it. Okay. Currency number 3, your content. All right, so something for you to consider. Have you ever left a review in Yelp or TripAdvisor or Rate My Professors? If you have given content to a company that then monetizes it. Here's the idea. They invite users to post reviews, right? Post a review on this restaurant, post a review on this professor, that sort of thing. Well, what they do is they then make your content available to others, then sell advertising based on the traffic your content generates. So the better content you generate and the more you generate, the more advertising they can sell. So they're basically not paying you, right? But it's a barter exchange because you get access to the content that other people have posted. Nevertheless, you are in a way an employee generating content, which they then post and then, can show advertisers, look at how much content we have, look how much traffic it generates. You want these eyeballs. Okay? So that's something to consider. Currency number 4. All right. Now, this one is probably going to be the most controversial, but I maintain that there's an element to bartering here. Consider this. From the day you were born, you managed to survive and in most cases thrive during the first 2 decades of your life without spending hardly a cent. How did you manage this? I mean, you're born, you're a baby, you're 1, 2, 3, 4, you're 7 years old, 8, 9, 10, you make 13, 14, 15 years old. Okay, maybe you get a part-time job then so you can buy video games and so forth. But truth is, the first 20 years of your life, you didn't pay for those 20 years of your life. Now, by the way, your parents paid for it. And you want to know how much it costs? Well, according to one study, it cost about $230,000 to raise a kid. All right. So, yeah, you lived the lifestyle that $230,000 would provide. And you didn't pay for it. You bartered for it. Okay, well, now, How do you barter for this, right? Well, what's in this for your parents? How do they benefit from this investment in you? Well, there's a whole bunch of reasons, but here are some to consider. They receive your love and adoration. I'll tell you what, human beings like to be loved. Actually, if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we really, really, really need to be loved, right? And we kind of like it when we're admired and when we're looked up on and when we're idolized and when we're seen as somebody's hero. This is heady stuff. And for a while anyway, kids view us like this. So this is something we receive as parents. We also receive the benefit of carrying on our legacy and our family name. I'll give you an example. So my brother, when he got married, rather than his wife taking his name, Schiffbauer, he took her name, Knack. All right. Well, that's fine. That's great. That's fantastic. But our grandfather, old school grandfather, he was not pleased. He was like, how are we going to continue on the family name if you're taking her name? Right? So this was part of the bartering economic exchange that he was expecting from raising kids. They're going to carry on the name. Sometimes we enjoy your company. Yeah, right? We enjoy the company as parents of our kids. We can play with them, we can have fun, and so on and so forth. That's an economic exchange. We also enjoy the bragging rights and the prestige that comes with your accomplishments. Okay, so I'm gonna, whenever, maybe you don't know because you're not there when all your parents are getting together with other parents. Parents are always bragging, oh, we're so busy. I have to take Sierra to dance, and then she has drill, and then she has piano lessons, and then this kid is doing that, and oh, we're so busy. And it's so expensive buying all this cheer stuff. And then I have a kid who's off here in baseball or football or soccer. Most of the time it's soccer. And we have to travel to Las Vegas to do these tournaments. And oh my gosh, but you know what? The coach says they're doing so well, and we're kind of thinking scholarship. That sounds like complaining, but it's not. All right? This is how parents, among other parents, establish a pecking order. I'm sorry, guys, if you're a parent and you're taking offense, I'm calling you out, okay? It's like those little newsletters that get sent around every holiday season. Oh, here's what our family's been up to. And it's like all these amazing, incredible things that all the kids have been doing. And so it's a new status symbol for parents. How well are your kids doing? That is a status symbol for parents and establishes our position in the community. This is an economic exchange. Now, by the way, it's not just parents who help raise you. Think about colleges and universities. They want you to attend. And so maybe they're going to give you a scholarship, or maybe they're going to build some really nice dorms to try to attract you so you can maintain a pretty nice standard of living even though you're in college. Well, why are they doing this? What's in it for them? Well, showing you off as alumni, adding to their reputation, which they can then monetize. The better their students do in the world and the more they can show off what their students accomplish, the more their reputation shines and they can get money, they can get alumni, they can get bigger sports programs, things like this. So once again, we're talking about a lot of economic exchanges here that involve no money. It's all barter. One closing thought, okay? Now, yeah, you've been doing this for the first 20 years, or at least you did this during the first 20 years, right? But, okay, it served you well so far, and, without you even realizing what you were doing. You weren't even aware that you were bartering these four currencies to get what is arguably a pretty nice standard of living. Does it have to end now? Imagine how you might leverage this barter economy if you do so deliberately. Let me say this again. You live a very, very nice standard of living because of a strong barter economy and using these four currencies of yours. You've been doing this unaware of the value of these four currencies. Now that you're aware of the value of these four currencies, how can you deliberately apply them and spend them to get even more and to get what you need going forward in life? Just a thought. Now, one last thing. Of course, no money involved, but you know what? Money isn't real anyway. And if you stick around, we're going to, in fact, talk about what a marvelous lie, how money is a complete fiction, what a marvelous lie money is, and how, in fact, barter might be the way to go. So stick around and we'll talk about that. All right. Hey, thanks a lot for joining me. And until we talk again, have a fantastic day.